Welcome back to another Mobirise website tutorial from the Complete Website Tutorial, Complete Website Builder tutorial, teaching you how to use Mobirise, the free drag and drop editor, to create a great website for your small business or for your small organization. And today what we're going to do is talk about creating a modal contact form. So that's like a pop-up contact form when you click a button and it kind of pops up and then fades everything in the website to the background. And I'm actually going to show you how to submit that. So I'm actually combining two videos that I've already done. One is how to create the contact form in the modal. I've already covered that before. And the other is a really popular video that I've done recently about how to create a PHP form in Mobirise. So a form that actually, when you click submit, it goes through and works, but it's a custom form. So not the form that Mobirise uses. So if you make any changes to the Mobirise form on the website, any customizations, then you're going to need to attach a PHP file in order to be able to send it, because it breaks the send function of the form whenever you make any changes to it. So I'll link to those two videos as well so that you can see. But let's get started on creating this modal form. So we're going to add an element, and I'm just going to add this element here. It's like a call to action type of thing with a button. So when we click this button, it's going to open a modal, a pop-up modal. So let's go in here and let's go ahead and unlock the HTML editor. And we want to keep all this because we're going to use the button. The button is right here, where you can see where it says see all templates. That's right here where the button is. So what we need is we need to get some code to be able to make the modal form. And what we're going to do is go to the Get Bootstrap website. So Mobirise is built on the Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript framework. So we can utilize everything inside of Bootstrap for our own purposes because it's already built into Mobirise. So this is one of the really good parts about Mobirise is that it integrates so well with Bootstrap, and you can just kind of use some advanced functionality right out of the box. So normally you would go to getbootstrap.com/components/modal, but Bootstrap is actually released version 4. You can still use version 3, it's fine, but they're transitioning into version 4, so I'm at version 4-alpha.getbootstrap.com. So that's what I'm using, but you could certainly just type in this part /components/modals, and it tells you that a modal is a flexible dialog prompt. So you've seen it before. Let me show you. When you click it, then it shows up, over the top of everything. It grays out the background, and then you have this this content in here that you can deal with. That you can apply links or forms or any type of HTML. We have a modal title in the header. This is the modal body, and then this is called the modal footer. So you'll see how that plays out in just a minute. And this is the one that we want, so we're just going to copy this. And when we go back to our Mobirise software, I'm not going to copy over these things. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it kind of down at the bottom because we're going to use all of it. So you can see here, here's the button trigger. So this is where it said launch demo modal. That's the button. So when I save it, you can see, this is the button you would normally click. Now we're going to apply this to this button so that we can use that button. So what we need to do is we need to come in. We don't need the whole thing. You could do that if you wanted to, You could just clear out this button if you wanted to. But really all that I need is the data toggle modal and data target. So I'm just going to copy those. And I'm going to paste them after the href. I'm just going to paste them in here. And I'm going to save. And now, don't ever try to do the modal from inside of Mobirise. Instead, preview it in the browser first, and then do it from the browser. There are issues with being able to see the modal, or it kind of blocks up the program if you do that. So always do it in the browser when you preview it. Okay, so our modal works. This is our simple basic modal with the modal title, and then there's the body, and then there's a couple of buttons in the footer. So this is exactly what it should look like, and that was pretty easy, right? That was not very difficult. And now what we need to do is we need to go into, this is the modal part, so we don't need this button anymore. So let me explain very quickly what's happening here. The data toggle is modal, so whenever you click the button, it toggles the modal, so it opens it up. And then the target is hashtag my modal. Now in HTML, a hashtag means an ID. So if there's a div or an element that has a hashtag or an ID, that's the same thing. So it says ID. You can see here the ID of this modal is called my modal, and then you call that, or you connect to that ID by putting a hashtag. So this is the target. So whenever we click this, whatever we want to happen needs to be the same as this. So whatever our target is. So when we click this, it'll open this. So this is all of our modal content here. We can actually change the modal title to whatever we want. And then you can see this is the modal title, and this is part of the modal header. In the header, there's a button here that says class of close, and then data dismiss modal, and then you see the little X. You see the X there? So that's when you open the modal and you go to close it. It's like an X up here, a similar thing. And then there is the header title, and that's inside of the modal header. And then there's another section called the modal body, and that was here. This is where we're going to put our form. And then the last section is the modal footer. And the modal footer includes a close and change button. So we actually don't need this, and so I will just take that out because we're not going to need that for our purposes. Let's save that, and now we need to get a form. Now I'm just going to use this contact form that I've used before. You could also go to you could go to Bootstrap, and you could click on forms, and you could just go and get any of these sample forms and put them in there. That would be okay. But I want to actually use the one that I've used before here. So I'm just going to go in here, and I don't need all of this stuff because I don't need it to be in a whole new section. This is all like section content. What I need is where it says form, and down to, again, where it says form. So I'm just going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back into this section, and remember we're inside of our modal, and I'm going to go to here in the modal body where it says, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to paste our form. Let me clean this up a little bit. So now inside of our modal body we have the form, and then this is the end of the form right here. So within our form we actually have a submit button. That's why I could get rid of those two other buttons. It's just going to show a header, and then it's going to show the whole form, but there won't be an actual footer. Now if you wanted that footer, that dividing line of the footer, you would just take this and then you would add it to the footer div that we removed before. So let's save that and let's preview it, and let's see, make sure that we got our form that will pop up inside the modal. Okay, very nice. So you can see there's this is our header, and then we have all of our form elements, and then you can submit the form. Now right now when I click submit, it doesn't do anything, and you can see that it's trying to go to something called mail.php. And whenever we click submit on our form, this form that we have here, I'll show you, it says form action, and so the action to take on the form whenever the button is clicked or the form is submitted is to go to a file that's called mail.php. And then the method that we're using is post. You could use get or post. It's traditionally right to use post for posting information to somewhere else, like an email or a contact form. So we're going to have to deal with this file here, and that's what we're going to do next. So let's go back here, and now we need to go to this email address. So we're going to use the same PHP form code that I used before for a separate tutorial. You can go to website tutorial.highwaywebconsulting.com, and then you can click on you can either type in /resources.html, or you can just click on the tab here at the top. This is this is the home page here with all of our basic tutorial videos, and then you would just click on the resources tab, and that would take you to some of the code snippets and the different things that we've been using and making available to the community. So the basic code snippet, there's actually a tutorial here on how to use it. This is where I got the code from in the first place, and so you could go through here and you can download the source files or see a demo. But it's essentially just making an HTML form and then attaching it and sending it with a PHP file. Okay, so you need those two things. And we can download the free snippet. So the files are there for you to download, and then you would save it wherever you want to. I've actually downloaded a copy already. So let me go into that. So I downloaded the copy here, and I have it here. So I've unzipped it, and this is where I'll come. And then there's two files in here. The first one is a Readme, and this Readme file is essentially instructions on how to create this form. So here's the steps for the form. So you need to create a form using HTML and CSS, which is what we did. You need to be sure that the form tag looks like this. So it must say form action mail.php in quotes, and then the method is post. Okay, so we went through that. That's what ours looks like. And then all fields that you want to send to your email, they should have a name. So for example, if you have an input field with a placeholder name, then it needs to actually have this here where it says name equals name. So the name of the input field is what the PHP is going to look for. So make sure that the name of the input right here, the HTML, matches the $post name in the PHP file, and I'll go through that and you can see it in just a minute. But when we are in our code, our HTML code, you can see here that each of my each of my inputs, so this is a form field, a full name is what's inside of the field, like the text that shows up, but the name of the field is name. And then there's one called name org, and name email, name phone, and then name message. So these are the hooks, essentially, that the PHP is going to look for. And whenever someone inputs information in here and then clicks send, it's going to attach this information in this place, in this input, to the name org. And then it's going to take that name and process it. And so you'll see just kind of how it works whenever we get into the PHP, but that's what that is. So we're going to change the fields inside the PHP file to match the fields in the contact form. And we'll kind of walk through this. You can change, it tells you how to change the email, the recipient email address. And then the next step is to upload all your files to the server. Doing this will not work on your local computer. You have to have a server that's enabled to handle PHP, which most servers in the world that you can just go and buy, you know, a server space or an account, they are going to be able to handle PHP. So it's not a big deal. And then after that, we can test our form. I have not put the tutorial video in there, but I will, because now there is. When I made this, there wasn't a tutorial video. Okay, and then the other file inside there is called mail, and this is a PHP file, so it is mail.php. And let's open it up and take a look at what we have. So if you're not familiar with PHP, this is might take a minute for you to kind of get your head around it. What we have here, these are variables, and a variable is like a box. It's like a box that holds information, and the information that it holds is on the right side of the equals sign. So in this PHP file, this is a I don't know what you would call it, but this is something kind of built into PHP that takes the thing that's been posted, and that thing that's been posted is called name. In this case, it's looking for the, remember we talked about the input fields? So if we look over here, all of our HTML inputs are given a name, right? And the name is name or org or email or phone. And that has to match up with the place where you're collecting the information. So we have name, email, phone. In the original, the tutorial I showed you on how to use this, they also had something called call and website and priority and type. We don't need those because we're not using those, so we can delete those. So it's taking the information that's posted through the HTML file, through the HTML form, and then it's attaching that to something called $name and $email. And then later on, like down here, we can actually just call that variable, and it will take that information and it will inject it, or it'll put it right here. And in our case, it's actually going to put that into an email message. So it'll take this dynamic content and put it into a static email. So this is how you can take user information and you can process it and put it into different formats or different places. So we actually have 4 here, but we're going to have to add one because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one here is called org, for organization name. And so we need to add that. So I'll show you how to do that. So essentially I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste this. And then I'm going to call this $org. And then what I want, the information I want to collect is from the input with the name of org. Okay. And so this is all the information that we're collecting, and we're putting it into these different variable names. And then right here is our form content So this is what's going to be output to our email, the actual email. So it's going to come in and it's going to say from, and then whatever the person types for name, right? Whatever they put into the name field. And then it's going to say phone, and then whatever they put into the phone field, right? We actually don't need some of these things. We don't need the callback or the website or the priority or the type. We do need message though. So we need name, phone, message. Oh, I erased email. Did I erase email? Oh no, I didn't erase email. Okay. So we need the name, the phone, the message, and we're just going to add another one here. And we're going to call this organization name. And then we're going to use the variable. We're going to use the information here, and that's stored in the variable org. So our email is going to come and it's going to say from whatever the person's name is. Then there will be a break. So it'll come to the next line. It'll say organization name, and then whatever they put, another break. It'll say phone and whatever they put, and then message and whatever the message is. Now we are using email. You could add email in here too if you wanted to. So maybe as a contact, a piece of contact information, but you're actually going to have the email. So you don't really need to do that. All right. So we have from the name, organization name, phone. Not going to be message, it's going to be email, address, and then our message. So the next line that you need to change is called the recipient. Now we want this recipient to be whatever our email address is, or whatever the email address of the person you want to send this form to. So when it's submitted, it's going to send this information to this email address. So let me just put my email in there so that we can check it when it's finished. And then you can actually change the subject. So whenever your email comes in, you can see the little subject blurb. You can actually change that here. And then the mail header is something you don't need to deal with. This is already set, so it's set to be from whatever the person's email is. That's why you don't necessarily need this, because you're going to have it in the header of the email. And then this line here, it calls all of these things, all of these variables, so form content, recipient, subject, mail header, and it puts them into one function called mail, and then it's going to send all of that information through the mail to this recipient. And then after it sends, it's going to come back, and on the page, echo means it outputs it to the page where you can see it. It's going to say thank you, and then there'll be a dash, and then it'll show a link that says return home. Now this is going to go back to the index.html of the website that you're on, but what I want to do is direct this to a whole different site, just so I know everything is going to work okay. So I will actually send this to my website at highwaywebconsulting.com. And so when you click this return home, it's actually going to go to the website homepage, my website. Okay, so this is your PHP form, and this is for creating a custom form. These fields can be anything that you want to. You just have to make sure that whatever the input field of your form is, you have to give it a name, and you have to reflect that name here because it needs to be stored in a variable, and then that variable needs to be added. If you want if you want to output it to your email, then you have to put it in here. So pretty easy actually. It's just maybe complicated if you're looking at it for the first time. So we want to save this into a folder. I already have a folder on my desktop. It's called Modal Form Example, and we're just going to keep it with the name mail, and this is a PHP file. We're going to save it. And we don't need that anymore because we have everything taken care of. And so now our HTML form is connected through this form action of mail.php and method of post. All of our form fields have a name, and that name is being captured in the PHP form, so that information that someone types in here is going to be captured and then given a variable name, and then we're using that variable and injecting that dynamic information into an email. And then our PHP form is going to collect that information, it's going to put it into an email, and then it's going to send the email to the place that we want it to go. So that's all of like the big level of what's happening here. Again, let's just save this, and we could preview it if we want, but it's not going to do any good. At this point, we need to publish our files, and we need to test our email form. So I'm going to just publish to a local, that same folder that I just put the PHP file in. And so I'll click publish. And now when I look back at that modal form example, now I have my published website, and you can see here this is I just did it 2 minutes ago. This is the mail.php file. This is my index page, page 1. This is the Mobirise project project file, and then these are all of our assets for the website. When you place the mail.php, it needs to be in the same place, like right next to whatever page where you're calling the contact form. Wherever you put your contact form, the mail.php has to be in there. If you want to put your mail somewhere in here, like in a subfolder, then you'll have to go back to your HTML, and you'll have to reflect that folder structure here. So maybe it's some folder / mail.php, so it has to go into a folder to find the mail.php file. So if you're going to organize your files that way, then you have to make sure it's reflected in your email or in your HTML as well. Okay, I'm going to open something called Filezilla. Filezilla is an FTP program that allows you to move files from your local computer or any other computer to a server, and remotely move your files from one computer to another. So this is what I typically use. You could use whatever your web server where you have your web hosting account. They all have FTP software built in, so you could use that to transfer your files as well. But we need to get these files onto the internet. So I'm just going to I'm going to open this up, and actually I have this here because I did it before, but let me just start from the beginning. Okay, so I'm just going to make a new directory, which essentially just creates a new file folder, and I'm going to call it Modal Contact. So now we have our folder here, and we're going to put all of our files in there. So here's our Mobirise modal form example, and we have our PHP form, and we have, actually, let's refresh. Okay, so now I can see that this is today. We need to take all these files and we need to copy them into this file that we created on the server. And you can see that this program takes care of all of our moving our files and copying them over. So it's really nice, actually, and makes the work sometimes a lot quicker because you can move multiple files or folders at the same time. So it's all done, and where we need to go is, this is my website, Highway Web Consulting, and then it's going to be /modal contact. So let's just open that up in our browser. You can see that our website is online. This is on the web right now. And we have all of our elements here. And when we click on this, it says see all templates. It opens our Modal Form. So this is all going very well so far. And it doesn't matter the information here. We're just trying to test it and make sure it works. And this is our message. Okay, so when I click submit form, it should take me to, my expectation is it's going to take me to a thank you page, remember, with our link. And when I click that link, it's going to go to highwaywebconsulting.com. And then it's also going to send an email that I'm going to be able to check my email. Okay, so that's a good sign. If you get to this place, then the form is most likely working. You can see that we run mail.php, right? It says thank you, return to home. When I click that, it goes to my website, or I put that URL. And then now, if I go and check my email, I should see a form. Oh, so I have a form from Brian. And it says modal contact form submission. You see that? So this is the title that I put in, the subject for the email. And then it tells me it's from Brian, and organization name is org. And so it's taken this dynamic information and it's placed it into a form that I can see in an email. So I've just created a pop-up modal that submits via a PHP form file called mail.php, and it sends it to any email address that I want it to send to. So it's a lot of steps, but not overly complicated. I hope you understood everything that went into that. Again, you can find the basic PHP form code here at the website tutorial.highwaywebconsulting.com, along with some other code snippets. If you want to, watch those videos, you can watch them and see how to implement them as well. If you have any questions, you can call me. Don't call me. You can email me at Brian, B-R-I-A-N, at highwaywebconsulting.com, or you can also send me a tweet on Twitter. My handle is at Brian Haferkamp, H-A-F-E-R-K-A-M-P. You can also leave comments. The easiest way is to just leave a comment in the video comment section, and I respond to them as quickly as I can get to them, and try to help you out with any issues that you're having. You can also watch the separate videos for how to create a basic PHP form, and then also how to create a modal, and there may be some extra information in those that I didn't really cover today as well, just for your own learning purposes. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you watching, and I really appreciate all the people who have subscribed to this channel. If you would like to get automatic updates on new videos, you can subscribe to the channel, and those will be sent to you in your email inbox. That way you don't have to keep coming back and checking all the time. You can just see when there's new content available. All right, until the next video, I hope that this helps you, and I hope it helps somebody out there. And if you have any questions, please just ask.